Good morning, everybody, wherever you are in the country. My name is Erica. I go by Quiet Storm on YouTube, and I am a vlogger. Um, I am doing this video because I felt like it needed to be done. Candace Owens is a very opinionated young lady who believes that she can actually speak for the entire black community, when pretty sure that she, as well as the person in the White House who keeps mentioning black people as though they know us, has never been to the inner city to ask for help, or to volunteer for help, or volunteer to help, or make suggestions. They are. It's amazing how ignorant they actually are, and it's even more amazing how many people follow them. No matter what they say, what Candace Owens and Donald Trump actually do say, a lot of white conservatives wish they could. That's why they latch on to black conservatives, and they latch on to Donald Trump as though they are telling the gospel truth. So this is my response and my reaction to her video that was posted last year. And it was the first time I saw it was right now, just a few minutes ago, really. And I only saw a part of it because I don't want to muddy the conversation thinking about or talking about Jay-Z and Al Sharpton, because Jay-Z is a popular figure in the entertainment industry, and he has about as much, in my opinion, he has about as much to say about how things are going in the black community as I do, because I've been there, and so has he. Um, so, but Al Sharpton, I can't get down with, and I never really have. But I want to talk about Colin Kaepernick. I want to respond to everything she's saying about Colin Kaepernick, and then I'm gonna basically just end the video there, or end her part of the video there. Okay? So I'm gonna start doing my talking points, or my points of reference, after she does all of her speaking on Colin Kaepernick. And if I feel like chiming in, I will. It really doesn't matter what it is that she's talking about. I will chime in on that. So, here we go.
Colin Kaepernick named the GQ Citizen of the Year, and this is supposed to represent a win for black people. The last time I mistook skin complexion for progress, I called him Barack Obama. My name is Candace.
Okay. I want to talk about that for a second. If you, Candace, are someone who actually, a black person who actually voted for Obama because of color, that would make you the weakest link. I voted for Obama twice. Never once did I vote for him or consider voting for him because of his color. I was a Democrat at the time. I'm not anymore. It's been about 4 years. I don't follow the Democrat Party, and I definitely do not follow conservatives. They do about as much as Democrats do for everybody in this country, and which is not much. Obama did what he could, and he jetted out of the White House, and I'm actually happy he's not there anymore, because his time was up. Anyway, if you mistook progress for skin color, or skin color for progress, you didn't make the right decision in the first place. You used your vote. You actually wasted a vote voting for his skin color instead of voting for the policies that he promised to push through, or whatever it was that made him so likable at that moment, as far as let's say education and historically black colleges and universities. Those things mattered to me. So I voted for him because of those reasons. I am pro-choice. I voted for that reason. I am pro-gay rights and lesbian rights or whatever. I voted for him on that. I don't vote Republican or conservative for the simple fact that most of the things that I'm for, conservatives are against. Some even say that they are for lesbians, gays, and bisexual and the queer community and everything, but they're really not. And you find out later that they've sent emails to people calling people out of their names because they're gay or something weird like that. So I don't follow conservatives who act like that. Not ever. So my main point was basically, if you voted for Obama because of his skin color, there's something wrong with you, not the rest of us who didn't.
Candace Owens, and you are watching my new vlog series, The Declaration. Citizen of the Year because he bravely knelt down during the national anthem. Man, the definition of bravery has really shifted over the last few decades, and quite frankly, I'm embarrassed. Let's take it back to 1944, shall we? When the Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy.
Okay, I want to... The last few decades, if we're actually going to talk about the last few decades would have put us at... you see, I'm 44 right now. Last few decades were actually, 30 years ago? In the 80s? So let's just, because I know that you're going to start calling about Normandy and our troops. God bless them all. We're going to start talking about our troops now, and you're going to start talking about how the anthem is actually important because of the bravery of our troops. I so get it. However, this is where I have a problem with you. Colin Kaepernick kneeled because of the unfairness of some cops abusing their authority. So this is about police brutality. When I watched this part, when I watched it, and I'm only doing the commentary just to give it some context. But when I watched your entire thing, you mentioned at one point in time nothing about police brutality, nothing at all, which is why he was kneeling. Point number 2, and it should have been point number 1, but point number 2. Colin Kaepernick first sat down. Now, a lot of us will probably tell him, stand up and or whatever, don't sit down. It's a protest, but don't sit down. We don't know what you're saying. We don't know what you're doing. So what happened? A military service member from the Green Beret, actually wrote Colin Kaepernick and suggested that instead of him sitting down, that he kneel, because it's respectful to the military, it's respectful, and it doesn't. It's a peaceful way of doing it. You can actually pray while you're down there too. This is just from my observation, my personal observation. You can pray while a lot of players were praying while they were kneeling, and so was he. So what you got wrong, Candace, is the fact that he didn't kneel just to be brave on something that he didn't mention or something like that. He knelt because of police brutality. And if you don't care, the weird thing is that you cared about Barack Obama's skin color, but you don't give a damn about police brutality. I even watched a video a little while ago where you talked about how 0.00004% of blacks get shot by or killed by cops when they're unarmed. That everybody else that was shot in 2017 or 2016 were guilty, and they were actually pulling a gun out on the cops. I think, and then you didn't come back to the fact that there are rogue cops out there who would love to see us just die off. I'm going to get back into policing, but you were wrong on that. And one day I wish that you, Sean Hannity, and any other conservative out there who believes that kneeling during the anthem is some kind of evil thing that black players do for attention. It's really weird. He did that for attention. He was making millions of dollars a year, Kaepernick. He was making millions of dollars a year just so that he can kneel and get kicked off the team or blacklisted. That doesn't make any sense. So, no, I'm not buying it.
D-Day, the average age of the men on the front lines were between 18 and 20 years old. Their chances of survival during the first hour were 1 in 2. Yep, a 50% chance that they were going to die a bloody and gruesome death on a beach far from home. Fast forward to 2000.
Okay. Do this math. What are the numbers? What is the ratio? What are the odds of a black man or a black boy and a black man between the ages of 14, nowadays 12 because of Tamir Rice, and let's say 35 years old, surviving, being pulled over by a cop that has an issue, with black people? What are the odds today in 2018 of them surviving, not being harassed, not being followed around in stores, not being pulled over and beaten down, not having the police called on them for something fraudulent, pun intended, as per this video? What are the odds? I don't think you ever did the math on that. I think that you care less about the black community than you actually say you do.
17, and a 30-year-old grown man who is being paid millions cannot stomach standing for the national anthem, which is meant to honor those children who died on those beaches. To add insult to injury, that grown man is now being honored with Citizen of the Year. Colin Kaepernick.
Like I said before, Colin Kaepernick kneeled on the field because of a suggestion by someone in the Green Parade. But you never talk about that. You don't think the Army is actually a part of the military? I mean, you want us to all respect our military for service members. All of them, from those who served and died on the beaches of Normandy to the ones that died and served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Are you really telling us that you really don't respect the military? Because that suggestion came from someone straight from the military. You're angry with Colin Kaepernick because he's making waves still. I have to go back, guys. I'm not going to stop this video at all. I am not going to stop this video because my message is going to be conveyed. Here it is.
Colin Kaepernick named the GQ Citizen of the Year, and this is supposed to represent a win. For those of you not made privy, Colin Kaepernick's Twitter feed has become something akin to the longest running episode of Toddlers in Tiaras ever. If you thought...
Okay. You go into something completely different here. And I'll address that. But I needed to say this. When you tell Colin Kaepernick that he is being un-American, or that he is un-American or not patriotic enough for your taste because he knelt on the field, you're basically telling that Army service member, that Green Beret Army service member, that they're not important and that they don't love this country. But you don't take that into consideration, because the only thing that matters to you and Donald Trump are what you feel and how you go about things. You sit on a pedestal that people have actually built up for you, because you're saying a lot of things that a lot of white conservatives wish they could say to us face to face. But the thing about you is that you'll never go to a black person who does not think like you, and talk the way you do to everybody else. You won't. Just like Trump never showed his face in the black community. He never went to a black community function. He never went to have a rally in the black community. He made his story, or he made his he put out, I guess, a message to black people from a town full of white people at a rally full of white people. What do you have to lose? I want every African American to vote for me because what did he say? What do you have to lose? You don't have jobs. Your communities are bad, or your education is bad, and things of that nature, right? But he's never been there. He's in front of a whole lot of white people, a sea of white people telling black people what to do, and you're no better. I'm going to let you finish this, because I need to comment on what you're about to say now about Colin's Twitter feed, point by point.
It was just the national anthem that he was throwing a tantrum about. Here's a recap of everything else that makes Colin emotional. Number 1, the 4th of July. Colin couldn't bear the idea of fireworks and hot dogs, so he went to Africa to find his true independence. Number 2.
Okay. Let me read Colin's tweet, because she didn't read it. She just has it up there and it's going to repeat, because I'm kind of new at this.
Everything else that makes Colin emotional. Number 1, the 4th of July. Colin couldn't bear the idea.
Okay. This is what Colin's tweet says. How can we truly celebrate independence on a day that intentionally robbed our ancestors of theirs? To find my independence, I went home. Now,
fireworks and hot dogs, so he went to Africa to find his true independence. Number 2,
okay. He went to Africa to find his independence because what else would you do at that point in time, understanding that the 4th of July is not a celebration of everybody's independence, it's a celebration of whites' independence in America, or the English's independence from Great Britain. It had nothing to do with black people. It had nothing to do with black people. That means you. In 1776, we were still heavily enthralled in slavery. In 1776, our people were still being traded and auctioned off naked. Our ancestors' children were separated from them. They were still raped, men and women. They were still beaten if they tried to leave. Ooh. They were still beaten if they tried to leave. Oh, come on. Yeah, there we go. They were still beaten if they tried to leave, if they tried to gain their own independence. And this didn't end officially until 1865. And then what else happened in 1865? The KKK was formed. Now, we'd like to say, oh, the Democrats formed the KKK, or the conservatives. I don't care who did, they formed in 1865, the moment blacks were freed, which means that they weren't actually free to do anything but be afraid of what's going to happen next. What do we do now? We don't have voting rights. It says that we have voting rights, but we can't vote. So while you're talking about fireworks and everything, fireworks and hot dogs, I'm pretty sure they didn't have hot dogs back in 1776 when they were celebrating the 4th of July. If blacks had been included in that independence, surely we'd be partying all the time. I mean, hey, to this day, if someone asks me to come to their house for a 4th of July celebration or whatever, I come over for a barbecue. I don't celebrate independence, but I will eat your barbecue. I will. So if you have a problem with him not celebrating the 4th of July, that's your problem. That's on you. Because obviously you don't know history. There was no black person who was free in 1776. We came here, our ancestors came here in 1619 and were enslaved. Actually, they didn't come here, I'm sorry, they were brought here. They were stolen here. Stolen and brought here. Sold by our own African ancestors, yes. But the white man who came and procured us and procured our ancestors had control of the situation. What they did after they put us on that boat, on those boats, like sardines, and brought us to America, was basically a choice they made. They made the choice to put us in that situation to make us feel inferior. So basically for 150 years, up until 1776 almost, we were slaves. So there was no independence for us, Candace. But ignore that if you want. I mean, you always do anyway. Next, you're going to talk about Thanksgiving, I think.
Number 2, Thanksgiving. Because Colin couldn't stand the idea of turkey and family, he traveled to find a Native American tribe.
Thanksgiving. Now, I celebrate Thanksgiving. I happen to like turkey and dressing and collard greens and sweet potato pie just like everybody else. I celebrate it to give thanks to my life and my family and all the things that God has actually done and bestowed on us. So Thanksgiving is actually something that's kind of, it's really cool for me. I love it. But I also understand where Colin Kaepernick got it from. I understand why he does not appreciate Thanksgiving. Everything has to be looked at. Let me read his tweet. Today I was on Alcatraz Island at the Indigenous Peoples Sunrise Gathering in solidarity with those celebrating their culture and paying respects to those that participated in the 19-month occupation of Alcatraz in an effort to force America to honor the Treaty of Fort Laramie. Now, the Native Americans were actually slaughtered during that time that Thanksgiving was actually considered, or trying to be considered, a holiday, or maybe it was just being marked as an occasion where the colonists and the Indians were actually coming together. But after that feast or whatever, there were hardly any Indians left. Yes, they were killing each other, but the colonists were trying to take over their land. The colonists were actually stripping the land of the valuable I guess, the food source and the minerals and gold and gold, silver, and whatever else that was actually available to them after they occupied the land. And they basically, where I am, I'm in Arizona right now. I've actually seen a couple of reservations. Very, very small. Very, very small. There are some in Seattle too. I didn't see those, but I see them here when I drive around. And America should be ashamed of itself. So if we think about Thanksgiving in the way you, Candace Owens, only thinking about turkey and dressing, if we think about it the way you do, we totally ignore exactly what happened. We ignore the actual history of why Thanksgiving is kind of it's a pagan event. And I can admit that I celebrate a pagan event. I like food, I'm sorry. This is the second time I said that.
During the sunrise. Number 3 is me taking bets as to where he'll travel for Christmas Day. I'm thinking Israel or the North Pole to see.
Okay, she said something about the North Pole to see Santa. Look, I don't think Colin has a problem with Christmas. I don't have a problem with Christmas. Now, the dates are not exact. We don't have any proof that Jesus was born on the 25th of December. None at all. All we know is that he was born and he died for our sins. That's all we know. Man picked out a day for Jesus' birth to be celebrated. And it's a beautiful thing. But if you are inferring that he is going to say something about Christmas because you don't like that he had the nerve to kneel on the sidelines while the anthem was playing, which we can actually talk about that too. The anthem is actually pretty racist. The anthem is pretty damn racist. Yes, it is. Damn, it was. And the thing is, I think it's the second or the third stanza of that song that is never played for that reason, because I believe that the United States of America actually believes, a whole country, everybody in government understands that the national anthem isn't kind to people of color. It's particularly black people, because it mentioned how slaves would be afraid of the war going on and everything, and there was not going to be any there's not going to be any peace for us or our people back then. So I don't understand why you love the anthem that much. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I actually know all of the words to the national anthem. When I was in high school and elementary school, was tasked to sing them when I was in girls' chorus, so or our mass choir or whatever. Yeah, I know all of the words, and I will sing them, yes, if someone asks me to. But the thing is, we live supposedly in a free country where if we don't feel like singing the national anthem, we shouldn't have to. But you're going to make that punishable by death because someone is not standing or putting their right hand on their heart while saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Or maybe you're someone who, if you hear, no matter where you are, and this is a stretch, because there are a lot of people who I've had debates with lately, who hate Colin Kaepernick with a passion. And though they don't go to football games, they watch from their house. And when I ask them, hey, what do you do when the anthem comes on and you're in your house? They tell me they stand up and quiet. And if anybody else is there and they don't do so, they kick them. They beat them down, basically, for not standing for the flag or not standing for the anthem. Can you believe that? People are actually, you're not allowed to go to the bathroom. You're not allowed to go and refresh a drink. You're not allowed to go and get a snack or whatever during the first minute and a half of not the game being on, but because of the telecast being on. Because the game does not start until kickoff. I am totally sick of people like yourself demeaning others because they don't follow or toe your line of bullcrap.
The only thing brave about Colin Kaepernick is his girlfriend, because if I had to deal with a toddler man feeling emotionally reduced by every holiday, no. Watch some fireworks, Cap. Eat some stuffing. And please, for the love of baby Jesus and everything that is fun about his birthday, do not ruin Christmas. Then, of course...
Okay. I am going to end this here after this last commentary. Colin Kaepernick's girlfriend did not like the attention he was getting. So she wanted him to just basically just be quiet. And the bad thing about that is that people like yourself tend to take advantage of things like that. People like yourself exasperate things like that, and they look at the girlfriend, for instance, and they go, you know what, you need to listen to your girlfriend because you're acting stupid. If your girlfriend agrees with me, then you know, she doesn't need to be with you or whatever. I think that you guys are the most narcissistic. Though you, and I'm not giving Donald Trump this credit at all, you seem to be very intelligent. You speak intelligently. I mean, but being intelligent or speaking intelligently does not always equal right. I know a lot of book smart dumb people. I know a lot of book smart arrogant people. I know a lot of book smart selfish people. And it seems like you're all three. You have deduced, and you have reduced. You have reduced in this part of your video. The 4th of July, which is supposed to be Independence Day for everybody, right? The 4th of July to being about hot dogs and fireworks. You have reduced Thanksgiving to being a holiday that's all about turkey and dressing, and not being thankful for your life or being thankful for where God put you on earth. And you've also reduced, while trying to make Colin Kaepernick the heavy in this, and he never said anything about Christmas, you also reduced Christmas to being something that's actually nothing. I get that you want to not, follow everybody's footsteps. I don't either. That's why the last party I would ever join would be the Conservative Party. The very last. I have nothing in common with anybody who is conservative, who's actually alt-right, let's put it like that. Because you're kind of alt-right now. So I don't get, what I don't get is why you have to be so hateful, and why you have to be, why can't you acknowledge the history of things that actually matter to us? Why do you have to go back to Normandy to state your opinion? I don't understand. You go back to Normandy to draw conclusions. Okay, Dabu. Oh, come on. Yeah. You went all the way to Normandy to make to draw your conclusion about the 4th of July and what that's about. I don't get it. So with that said, I think that all of my energy was probably wasted here, and you probably won't even see this video. But let me tell you something. As a black woman who actually grew up in Chicago, and I saw another video where you, the people that you represent went to, and you actually shared the video, went to Chicago and asked about 3 or 4 black people if Donald Trump made life better. And after the first older gentleman answered your question, and he said, I don't watch TV, but from what I hear, he's actually doing good for the community. You didn't ask the right people. Much love and respect to the black people that actually were interviewed for that 2 seconds or whatever. I believe that you actually ran into, or they actually ran into, more than those 4 black people getting or trying to put feelers out to find out if Donald Trump is actually doing what he said he was going to do. As a Chicago resident living in Arizona, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to be very, very honest with you. I grew up in the Robert Taylor homes from 78 to 89. And while I was there, I saw a lot of things. I grew up in poverty. I was born in poverty. My mom and dad were born in poverty. My grandmothers and grandfathers were born in poverty. Great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers too. And since we're going to talk about great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers, my great-grandmother was a slave. Toward the end of, I think she was born in 1899, but when she was in the South, she actually was still a part of it when you thought it ended, right? The reason why blacks are going through all of the things that we're going through could be culture, but without that culture, let's just say this. Let me clear this up. If slavery was never an issue and blacks were always treated the way everybody else was treated, there would be no black culture where blacks are killing blacks. No. If we were treated like everybody else and given the same amount of rope to, or not rope, if we were given the same amount of chances to make it in this country, we would be completely different. We would be completely different. Those of us who grew up in poverty probably would not have grown up in poverty. We would probably have some kind of generational wealth. When people tell black folks, especially black kids, and you have to think about it, when you're a black child in slavery, and all you see is heartache, pain, and suffering, that's what you think that your life is going to be. That's what you project your life is going to be, because nobody tells you different. It's not different today in 2018. If you tell a black child today that they are failures, until somebody proves them different or tells them different, they're going to believe you. And once they grow up, they become those parents who were never put into situations where they could actually thrive and never told that they were important. So you have those parents now raising kids who hate themselves. And those kids are now having children who will what? Hate themselves. Everything has a genesis. Everything. I don't care if you go back to Normandy. And we've had plenty of wars after Normandy, haven't we? If we don't learn from the mistakes that we have made, we never will. And the only thing we will perpetuate over and over and over again is failure and chaos, which are things that your president actually thrives on. So, with all of that said, I think I've my head has exploded for the day. It's kind of early. I've been up for a while. I have to get my daughter from school today. But I'm not gonna give up just because you don't understand what it is to be a black person in America. You really don't have a clue, Candace. Not one clue. As a matter of fact, I would like to see you have a conversation with, like, see an interview with you having a conversation with a black person who is not on your political spectrum. A black person who has gone through a whole lot of letdowns and dragouts and everything, and where you're not talking about conservatives and what conservatives care about and what Democrats care about. Talk about the real issues. Talk about, I dare you to actually do it though. Talk about all of the things that drove them or put them in that situation where they needed to, they feel like they were actually held back because of the atmosphere in the country. Either party, we can blame either party for the failure of blacks coming up, on a grand scale. We can blame either party. Hell, there's a Republican governor in Illinois, Bruce Rauner, who actually signed off on raising the prices of people with disabilities and medical issues, raising the cost of their medication. He signed off on that. Then we have a Republican, oh my God, my eye. Then we have a Republican named, Ben Carson, who is the Secretary of HUD. And he signed off on raising the rent of people in low-income housing. How low can you go? How low can you go? But they're helping the black community. Right.